Hello people, wish I could say I'm having a great day, but it is becoming very serious now. D-Day is fastly approaching. I know that I have been giving these predictions, I guess if you want to call it that, over the last year or so, but as an Australian I'm feeling a lot of things at the moment. Our government's come out this morning and on the weekend saying that shorting is now no longer available. We are now no longer allowed to short stocks. Now this is quite interesting. Our market zoomed up today, absolutely zoomed up. First hour of market there was actually no action. The market makers were actually waiting for the ASIC to come on board and say what they had to say, but we're no longer allowed to short. It's going to happen. This is going to stick forth for another 30 days. Come in sync with the market reaction overseas. The US, Hank Paulson, is widening a $700 billion rescue plan for not only just mortgages, for some other insurance companies and funds and all sorts of things. People, the time is getting serious. This is a very historic day. I'm actually 29 at the moment, and I'm sure that what is about to happen in the coming 60 to 90 days is something that I will never again see in my lifetime. It's a very historical event. This printing it off on money, this printing money and handing it out like shortbread cakes to school kids is ridiculous. America, you're going to crash your dollar. You can't keep printing money and expect it to be worthful. It's going to be worthless. It's going to be like a confetti currency. And no, it's not going to be a quick crash of the dollar, because they're going to keep trying these tricks, and it's going to be a slow crash of the dollar until eventually, yes, you'll see it fully collapse and there'll be a new currency come on board. These classic situations where you saw Franny and Fetty bailouts, Bear Stearns getting bailed out, AIG not able to be bailed out. You know, we're too rich, we're too powerful, we're too big to fail. Well, people, it's happening. And the rest of us are too small to save. We now know that the government is organised by money, and it's just as dangerous as the government is organised by a mob. It's a good little quote from Franklin Roosevelt in 1936. And like I said, we keep having these historical days. The full closing down of shorts on the US market, the UK market, and the FDIC website has actually listed 11 bank failures in total in 2008 since April. The latest one, Silver State Bank in Henderson, Nevada on the 5th of September. IndyMac was another one that's taken over lately. IndyMac Bank was the second largest bank failure in American history. If you remember a while ago, I said in sometime in 2008, the end of 2008, we're going to see some major giant financial firms fall. It's happening right now. Just when people think this short selling is the crucial part of it, the government actually has the hide to blame short sellers, and the market goes up. Ridiculous. They're putting in a false sense of security yet again, people. I wish a lot of the people out there would wake up. They're simply not seeing what's playing out here. An economic 9/11 is still fast approaching. I foresaw a lot of this back in January, and it comes back to the saying that current events form future trends. And if you saw the current events unfolding back then, you could have seen. You don't have to be an idiot. You just have to look at the data objectively. I knew where the future was heading. A lot of other people knew where the future is heading, and I thank people for actually coming here and watching my channel, and they're slowly waking up to what is actually happening. It's getting very close now. It's getting very serious. And there's all these other brokers stuck in their little Wall Street worlds and Washington worlds, Congress not doing anything. And this big bailout plan is going to end in financial World War III. People weren't able to wake up to the fact that there was financial manipulations going on throughout the system for the last 5-6 years. Auction-raised securities, compulsory purchase orders, structured investment vehicles. I mean, they make up this stuff, and it really is basically just a Ponzi scheme. And if you remember back to history, a Ponzi scheme was actually designed by a guy named Charles Ponzi, who immigrated from Italy to the United States. He became notorious for a famous scam, which is actually named after him, where he would actually get people to invest in his so-called real businesses, and he promised really high returns from that little scheme. The whole thing was, it was a whole charade. He wasn't using that money to invest in real businesses. He was using that money from newer clients to pay his older clients. It was a circular effect. It was an absolute scam right from the get-go, from when he first began. When the authorities came in and investigated and found out what Charles Ponzi was doing, he was busted, he was suspected, taken as being an illegal, unregistered security dealer, and he got in a lot of serious trouble. This is what you're going to see now here too. I mean, the Ponzi scheme, he's dead. It's finished. It's time to pay up, and the bigwigs on Wall Street are in serious trouble. Over the weekend, I had to shrug and just, my mouth flew open. I couldn't believe what they're trying to do and the extreme extents they're going to keep this market propped up. Think about all the other people. They're seeing the market bottom, and once again they're calling, oh, the market's gone up, the market's gone up. It's the bottom. It's time to get back in. I feel sorry for the people who have got in the market in the last few days. Yes, we've had some big gains on market, but as you'll see, they are not going to hold up for very long. We're going to go into the world's worst depression that anyone has ever seen. It's going to be worse than the Great Depression in 1929, and I'll give you some of the reasons why. Back in the 1929 depression days, people did not have things called credit card. That has not even hit our markets yet. The United States did not have $14 trillion worth of debt. The US government was not $14 trillion in debt, and they had a trade surplus, not a deficit. Back then they weren't fighting two wars that had sapped already $2 trillion from the American Treasury, and it's getting worse. Whoever gets elected in November 2008 is going to inherit the $14 trillion in debt. But if this is going to be worse than the Great Depression of 29, could you lay out what you expect to see happen over the rest of 2008 leading into fall 2009? Let's take retail sales just as a little example. This Christmas 2008, you're going to see major chains go bankrupt. If you can see Lehman Bank's brother go under, guess what? Macy's, JCPenney, Gap, and all the rest of them could go down too. The big collapse of Lehman Brothers was sort of sets a precedent for what's going to happen. And because it's all tied in with the mortgage crisis, all these companies, new shopping centers, they all like leverage buyout firms and have been built on an economic model of growth and expansion. That means opening new stores in new locations, but not necessarily increasing in-store sales. You're going to see major bankruptcies with people losing their jobs, the economy going down a lot more. They haven't got the money to spend. And I know I've said this before, but it's going to happen. And please people, I have warned you, you need to stock up on food and on water and supplies. If people can't get to the bank, they can't get money, you're going to see violence go to levels you've never seen before. You're going to start to see the people get into this like gangland mentality that's running through Mexico and start seeping up north into the United States. The Mexican government cannot control this level of violence. You're going to start to see this happening in America and all around the places. Maybe Europe and maybe in some of the Asian districts. You're going to see gangs, kidnappings, more violence and crime. It's going to happen because why? People are going to become desperate. The knee-jerk reaction, of course, will be, put more police on the streets, more police, more police. But it's not going to solve the problem. This problem is far too big. The government cannot fix it. The $1 trillion deal that I have that's going to allegedly, in inverted commas, bail out in trouble companies is not going to work. It's simply too big. You have a look at the idiot that's sitting on the Fed chief at the moment, who's sitting in office. Ben Bernanke, what an idiot. What an absolute idiot. Alan Greenspan, who was the former Fed chief, is basically the guy that's behind all this. By lowering interest rates during the dot-com bubble of 2000, they lowered interest rates to a 46-year low, created the situation that now exists for all this cheap money and all the financial games. Greenspan is the prince of destruction. The Federal Reserve is what is behind the destruction of the country here and now, people. Greenspan is warning us.